Welcome to Share Views, brought to you by London South East. I'm Donald Leggett, and Zaza Mamulaishvili, CEO at Frontera Resources, is with me to give us an operational update on the Georgian onshore oil and gas exploration and development business. Welcome, Zaza.
Thank you, Noel. Thank you very much for having me back in here again.
It's always a pleasure. You've got a three-well test and drilling program taking place in Taribani Block 12 in Georgia at the moment. If we could kick off by summing up how that work is getting along.
Sure. This program that was designed around the Taribani Field in Block 12, as you said, and just for everybody's benefit, this area has 150 million barrels of recoverable oil in place in as called Eldari Formation. And this program has been designed to target drilling at the target horizons of Eldari Formation. We just completed very successfully the drilling of 3 wells. This is Dino 2, T45, and T39 wells. And as we speak right now, we are testing those wells. We are flowing oil and gas from those wells, and are very, very exciting based on what we see so far.
So what kind of learnings have you had in the past year? To what extent has it been transformational for you guys?
That was transformation from the point of view that we had success in many ways. The first of all is that we've drilled those wells with improved drilling practices, with oil-based muds. We've achieved condition of the wellbore, which has never been achieved before historically in this area, which means that we have very nice gauged hole, which is excellent precondition for good cementing job. And good cementing is excellent precondition for stable, sustainable, long-term flow of oil and gas. This is on one hand. Excuse me. On the other hand, what we see, and the last RNS on T39 is another proof that we are flowing the oil and gas at a very nice commercial rates, from even with very small 3 millimeter choke size.
Okay, so let's unbundle these different RNSs that you've been putting out over the past weeks. T39, give me a more detailed update on T39 and how much oil you've actually seen in your well test.
T39 has been completed in Zone 19, which is Eldari B, and Zone 19 has a little over 20 million barrels of recoverable oil based on CPR estimates. Our own estimates quietly exceed those numbers, but even 20 million barrels recoverability is pretty good. So far we are flowing very light 41.5 API crude oil from the zone, together with a lot of gas, and with 400,000 cubic feet per day. And even since our last RNS, we see some increase in gas flow as well. And this is very sustained flow from what we see from Zone 19 of T39. And another very interesting thing what we see here is that this zone has very good rock properties, has better porosity than zones 14 and 15 and 9, which we've drilled before, and better permeability than zones 14, 15, and 9, which we've drilled before. So it looks like this zone 19 doesn't really require us to frack it, doesn't really require us to stimulate it. If without stimulation, it flows on us at a very nice commercial rate so far.
So do you see yourself drilling lots more wells in 19?
At the moment, what we see Taribani development wells to be drilled in Zone 19. And Zone 19 production, so far what we see is such that those flow rates will have recovering. Sorry, kind of correct what I want to say. The flow rates, what we see so far, means that we will be recovering drilling cost in 8 months or so. And after that, every year, those wells will be delivering $4 or $5 million worth oil every year as a profit.
And what would your drilling costs on average be, do you think?
This will be $3.2 million, $3.3 million to Zone 19.
So $3 million and you get your money back within 8 months.
8 months.
And for the next 10 years, it's quietly profitable.
Exactly, $4 or $5 million, assuming current oil prices. And then this is only about Zone 19. But on the top of Zone 19, you have Zones 14, 15, Zone 9, which we established long-term the production test for years, and the Zone 14 and 15, which are flowing oil right now as we speak. So on the top of Zone 19, you have other zones capable to flow at a commercial rate. So simple Taribani development well is going to be very profitable well to our investment.
And those well tests, how much oil are you actually getting? What's your barrels per day number on T39?
In T39, right now we continue testing with 64th choke, the 3 millimeter choke, and we are flowing 250 barrels a day and roughly 350,000 cubic feet of gas per day.
Fantastic. T45 and Dino 2, are those work in progress as well? Are you still well testing those two?
Yes, as we speak, we are producing oil from those wells, and we're going to continue doing so. As I said before, we understand very well Zone 9. We are seeing, this is the second time that we see good production from Zone 19. 14 and 15 are flowing, producing oil at the moment, and at some point we will get back to the market with the updated flow rates, but so far what we see is very encouraging.
So you don't quite have the barrels per day number for me, but you will shortly.
Yes, we need to put out RNS once it comes to flow rates.
Okay. What about UD2, which was less successful? You had problematic cement casing around that, and some of your other wells. What's the state of play with that one? Is it being plugged? Will you sidetrack it? What's the update on that?
On UD2, we did the well stimulation operation, and because UD2 has been drilled 35 years ago, well integrity was not good enough to respond to our well stimulation operation properly. In other words, we haven't been able to achieve the proper and right geometry of fracking. In other words, we've targeted the zone, but we don't really quite frack that horizon because it went upwards because of bad cementing around the casing. Mm-hmm. So, but what happened was that we saw some gas flow from the horizon, which we tried to stimulate at a level of 150,000 cubic feet per day. And this is first time significance of this production is that we proved that there is gas, flowable gas, in Miocene-aged rocks. By the way, this happened first time in the company and country's history that we see Miocene-aged gas being delivered to the surface. That's the significance of this well. So I would wish that we could produce at a higher the flow rates, but at least now we know that we have the gas in there. It responded to a not very successful the fracking operation per se, but the plan is that for this moment we are getting ready to isolate the zone and as we call in an industry, plug and abandon. But what we are thinking about, we want to come back and sidetrack this well and drill it down to those horizons, the Miocene-age horizons, and reperforate and frack it again and produce from nicely drilled, well-completed the well, like we did in case of T39.
And you're looking for gas in this instance?
Exactly. In this case, that'll be we've tested these Miocene-age rocks after we fracked it, and this is dry gas with very high content of methane. And once we sidetrack, this is what we are considering. It's not a final decision yet, but this is one of the.
But how much of a priority would the sidetrack be in terms of your work program in the next year? Is that something you would target, or is it something more for the back burner, something that it's nice to have, but you'll do it in a couple of years' time?
Probably this is something to happen next year. When it comes to UD2 well, only thing we need to really do some more work and come with conclusion is that whether or not we are better off to sidetrack this well or twin this well and drill the new one next to this UD2 location. Because we have good experience, for example, T39 was plugged and abandoned 30 years ago. We've sidetracked it very successfully, and we are producing the oil and gas from this well now. But when it comes to UD2 well, we have to evaluate whether or not we are better off to sidetrack it or twin it and drill the new one next to it.
Okay, cement casings. You said there was a 35-year-old cement casing in one instance. Are there more of these old cement casings, and to what extent are they an issue across Taribani?
Cementing and casing was an issue in the Taribani and in that area historically all the time. And what happened actually, another tremendous step forward what we made, was that we improved drilling practices, cementing practices. And in Taribani, there are no many other wells which we can use for the moment for sidetracking. And this is again because of well integrity. Maybe we have one, maybe two, but not more. So in case we use existing one or two wells for future sidetracking operation, which we are planning to commence sometime towards the end of this year, after that we're going to drill new wells.
Great. How much money has been spent on the 3-well program to date, and to what extent do you feel that you've actually proved the potential of Taribani and de-risked the project as a whole?
On this sidetracks, we spend roughly average is kind of $2.6 million. But new wells, and those 3 wells, actually all of those wells proved that we can drill those wells in time, we can get to the target zones in time, cost efficiently, and based on what we saw as a drilling operation, we successfully completed, and based on what we acquired as an experience, suggests that new wells, even to zone 19, will cost us $3.2 million. So we proved we can successfully land those wells. We proved we can drill it for $3.3 million. And now we are testing and we are proving every day, as we speak right now, that we can have and achieve the commercial rates of flow of oil and gas from zone 19 and others. So that's going to convert ourselves to the field developing. We're going to move into a field developing phase as a result of this campaign.
Exactly. What are the next commercial steps?
Next step is that we are targeting to commence the drilling operations in Q4. We have an arrangement that one of the funds, they are willing to participate and fund the sidetracking of Nico 1 well. Right now, to be honest with you, we are reopening the discussion based on what we see in zone 19, because this well is flowing very nicely. The zone 19 is very good. Now we have a deal with that company to have them fund this well to zone 15. And now we are reopening this that kind of discussion. We want them to fund it all the way down to zone 19. So next wells in Taribani, because we've built the confidence based on what we see as a test results, even though we are still in extending kind of testing operations, we see Taribani wells to be drilled in zone 19 as we move forward. And we see in 2-3 years from today producing 10,000 barrels a day from Taribani's Eldari formation, generating.
So what kind of news flow can we expect in the next months? What's coming up?
Well, next days and months, we will continue testing of T39, T45, and Dina 2. We will be our observation and the results will be more conclusive. For example, T39, as I said, we see the kind of oil stabilized at current flow. We see gas is kind of increasing. We need to think about whether or not we start thinking of the gas infrastructure to monetize the gas, whatever is produced in T39. So we will be busy with evaluating current results in T39, 45, T45, and Dina 2. But at the same time, we have our eyes, what we see so far has built the confidence in us such that we are getting ready for the larger scale development drilling campaign which we like to start in Q4 with sidetracking Nico 1 well, and then continue next year in the drilling wells into Zone 19 of Taribani.
And if I could ask you about funding, where does the funding come from? What does your balance sheet look like at the moment? Financially, what sort of position are you guys in?
So financially, the good thing is that with current the test program, we have increased our the revenue stream. So that cash what we are making right now is allowing us to cover all our operational costs, and also we are the paying off the debt which we had. We are paying off $265,000 every month. This is a restructured deal we had with one of the companies. So we are covering our costs, we are paying the debt, and we have in Q4 one well funded to be sidetracked to Zone 15. And as I said before, we are trying to now extend it to Zone 19. For next year's drilling operations, we'll be, and we are actually considering several different options of funding. Now we are talking about convertible debt, we are talking about reserve-based lending. All these results, by the way, what we have so far, will go and update our CPR numbers such that with time we're going to see a lot more proven reserves coming into our reports, and this is opening new door for us to bring new capital into the company.
And this is the first time you've actually been able to trade against flowing oil.
Exactly, that's right. And established flow rates from those horizons will bring another dimension to our CPR estimates, and then subsequently that opens up the door for different types of financing we like to use next year.
Okay. And you think this will have a positive effect on the share price, I presume?
I hope so. As a shareholder, I'm pretty happy with results, what we see, and even though that we see some fluctuations here and there, I think eventually it will have substantial positive impact on our share price.
Okay, and my final question, if you were to pull together everything that you've told me in the last 12 or 13 minutes and sum up the Frontera investment case for me, why should I invest in Frontera?
Frontera is an excellent place for investment because while speaking of Taribani, we have over 1 billion barrels of oil in place, of which 150 million barrels in El Dari formation is considered to be recoverable, and this is what we are producing right now. After successful drilling and completion drilling program, we are successfully testing this El Dari formation, from which we're going to extract 150 million barrels of oil with time. This is one thing. Perfectly developed infrastructure to move oil and gas anywhere in the world. Frontera's license has the oil and gas pipelines running through the block, and this is what we are using to sell our gas, which we are producing right now. We are selling our crude to export markets by railing, but once we increase our volumes, we're going to use pipeline infrastructure. And this is on the oil side, mainly, in Taribani. And then on the gas side, before I leave Taribani, I have to say that 150 million barrels of recoverable oil in El Dari formation. Once you drill deeper for another 800 meters, then you are in Gareji formation, and Gareji has 3.2 trillion cubic feet of gas as a recoverable, the volume.
And you will recover the oil first and then the gas second. That's your strategy.
Right now our strategy is for next year to commence development of oil section, and once we start that development, then the target is to go deeper for another 800 meters and target the gas horizons as well. That's in Taribani.
Will that be 2 or 3 years' time for gas?
For gas, I guess in 2019 we will be developing in Taribani. We will be developing oil and gas together, and sometime towards the end of 2019 we may drill the deeper and start targeting gas horizons as well. But the gas, the section we have in Taribani, if you move to the west in Tsara heavy gas, where the Udabna 2 UD2 well is located, there is another 5.8 trillion cubic feet of gas. And that's another, the project we're working on to sidetrack that well and open that access and flow this gas to the surface.
Zaza, that's all fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
and
you
for
very much.
sharing that information with us. That's it for now. Thanks to Zaza Mamulaishvili, CEO at Frontera Resources, for being our guest. And thanks to you, of course, for watching. For more interviews like this one, please subscribe to our London South East YouTube channel. Thank you very much indeed.